This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We're broadcasting live from outside the courthouse and jail in Mandan, North Dakota. Water and land protectors, as they call themselves, report facing increasing repression amidst the ongoing resistance to the $3.8 billion Dakota Access Pipeline. Police have begun deploying military-grade equipment, including armored personnel carriers, surveillance helicopters, planes, and drones. North Dakota Governor Jack Dalrymple activated the National Guard in late September. Roughly 140 people have been arrested. Some report being strip-searched in custody at the Morton County Jail, even when they're facing minor misdemeanor charges. This is Dr. Sarah Jumping Eagle, a pediatrician on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, a member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe.
When I was taken to the jail, first I was taken by a corrections officer, transported from the protest site to the Morton County Jail. And then when they took me in there, you know, they had to take some basic information. And then one of the things that they do is have you go into a small room, and there was a female officer there, and we had to take my clothes off, and then I don't know, basically.
Cavity search?
No, not a cavity search, but I had to squat and cough. That's what she said. I had to squat and cough and then put the orange suit on.
So you were put in an orange jumpsuit?
Yeah, I was put in an orange jumpsuit, and then I was held there for several hours. And initially, you know, my family didn't know where I was, or didn't, you know, they heard about it pretty quickly, and were able to come and bond me out or bail me out. I don't know what you call it, but I was in there for several hours.
How did it make you feel?
It made me feel, you know, it made me think about, you know, my ancestors and what had they gone through. And this was in no way a comparison to what we've survived before. So it just made me feel more determined about what I'm doing and why I'm here. That's
Dr. Sarah Jumping Eagle, a pediatrician, member of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. She was charged with disorderly conduct. LaDonna Braveville Allard, who founded the first resistance camp, the Sacred Stone Camp, on her own land April 1st, says her daughter was recently arrested, taken into custody at the Morton County Jail, strip-searched in front of multiple male officers, then left for hours in her cell naked and freezing before the guards finally gave her clothes to wear. LaDonna Allard says her daughter was repeatedly asked by guards, "Who is your mother?" which Allard sees as an indication that her daughter was targeted because of who she is. Cody Hall from Cheyenne River Reservation in South Dakota says he was also strip-searched after he was arrested Friday, September 9th, held for 3 days without bail or bond, and then charged with 2 misdemeanors.
As I exited out of the vehicles and entered Morton County, I came up an elevator, and as the elevator door opened up, I was met with state police. And then, you know, of course, Morton County people were there to book people, but and then from there started the process of the booking, and then again, you know, went into a private room where they asked you to, you know, get naked. You know, they had my arms, they you know, kind of like a extend your arms out, and you're fully naked, and they have you, you know, lift up your genitals and, you know, bend over, you know, cough. And so it's really one of those tactics that they try to break down your mentalness of everyday life, because not every day do you wake up and say, hey, I'm going to get, you know, naked and have somebody search me today. You know, that's a private, you know, that's a private feeling for you, you know, when you get naked. So.
And 4 days later, when you were finally released, they hadn't allowed you to go out on bail or bond for those 4 days. You came before a judge in the orange jumpsuit?
Yes, I sat in the court office in my orange jumpsuit, locked, you know, still, you know, handcuffed, exited out of the courtroom, and as I left the courtroom, there were 20 or so state police, all in their bulletproof vests, everything, just looking, you know, like you know, like they're going into action of some sort. And then they literally had a line from the courtroom to the door that connects you to the county jail. And my mother walked out with me. And as we got to the door, they were opening the door up, and as I looked behind me, my mother and I, all of the cops then proceeded to kind of swarm, like make, that big wall, as I entered in, which was, again, an overkill, but that too, though, to show a dominant force. That
was Cody Hall, who was arrested on 2 misdemeanors, held for 4 days, strip searched here at the Morton County Jail just behind us. Well, for more on the resistance to the Dakota Access Pipeline, the police crackdown, we're joined by 2 guests. Winona LaDuke, Native American activist, executive director of the group Honor the Earth. She lives and works on the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota. And we're joined by Tara Houska, national campaigns director for Honor the Earth. She's a Ojibwe from the Cochiching First Nation. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Winona, let's start with you. We have spoken to you intermittently through this resistance. Where does it stand now?
Well, as far as we are in, I'm just looking at the big picture. Right now, there is about 900,000 barrels per day of oil coming out of this state, and they project that into 2019. And so what I'm trying to understand is that if that's all they have, and it's already going out, why do they need another pipeline of 570,000 barrels of oil per day? In other words, they're already meeting all the demand. For the next 2 years, that's all the oil that's in there. And this is really what we call this is the Dakota Excess Pipeline.
The Dakota Excess?
The Dakota Excess Pipeline. This is really about spites. It's really about spite.
What do you mean?
It's just really about hating. It's just really about trying to put some in across these tribes. It's exactly what the chairman and you said before. If they wanted this pipeline so damn bad, they should have put it north of Bismarck. And they should not have violated the law. The whole pipeline was approved through something called the Nationwide Permit number 12, which means they could cut it into a lot of little pieces and never do an EIS and pretend like, that's intended for, like, if you have like a pipeline from a school to the water service center or something like that. It's not intended for a 1,600-mile pipeline. Total misuse of the law, and the president really needs to intervene and uphold the law.
Tara Houska, you have been following these protests and the level of militarization in response to the protests. You were there on Saturday. We spoke to you at one of these peaceful marches of hundreds of Native Americans.
Yeah, we've seen this incredibly militarized response from North Dakota that has been so over the top in reaction to Native Americans peacefully protesting, praying for the land, praying for the water. These are women and children that are out there. We saw the most recent one on Indigenous Peoples Day. They had Native Americans out there praying for the land. They put a teepee up in front of the actual pipeline route, and they called that a riot. There's nobody there rioting. They're doing that as North Dakota is doing that as it's increasing the amount of militarized response, militarized force. They're calling in other sheriffs from other states. They're upping this incredible amount of police force for no reason.
Well, all for this pipeline. Winona, who profits from this pipeline? Who owns this pipeline?
Well, Enbridge, we just spent 4 years fighting Enbridge. And Enbridge and Marathon Oil just bought a third of this pipeline.
And you fought them in northern Minnesota.
We fought them in northern Minnesota, and in August they announced that they had canceled the Sandpiper, which was the 640,000 barrel per day oil pipeline, pipeline from here, fracked oil pipeline they wanted to put across our territory. We defeated that pipeline, and they came out here and moved out here. But, I think that the whole context that you're talking about is really important. This is pretty much the deep north. That's what it is. Nobody's been paying attention to what's happening in North Dakota. They've been flying over it, hopes it work out for y'all. And in the meantime, Indian arrests have been consistent. There's no infrastructure. Native people are treated like, third-class citizens. Suicide rates, everything's going on. And, the governor's acting like this is Mississippi up here, and you can just do that. And now people are finally noticing. But it's been going on for a long time up here. And this is, finally a flashpoint where people are saying that's enough. We're not going to let you take our water. We're not going to let you destroy that which is ours.
After Ferguson, the whole country saw the level of militarization of local police departments. You were there, Tara, where there was an MRAP. There's a armored personnel carrier at this peaceful protest where you offered the police water, clean water, right?
We did. Indigenous women went up there and we offered the police water, sage, and sweetgrass. Yep. And, trying to show that we are peaceful, that we are doing this for not only our children, but their children, too. This is a people issue. Water is a people issue.
What inspires you most, Tara?
I think it's incredibly inspiring to go out there and to see, a line of police like that and an MRAP. And, we've seen sound cannons, there's helicopters flying overhead, and there's this little group of Native American people and their allies that are out there standing there defiant and, trying to defend their people and their land.
Not so little, Winona. I mean, we've never seen a unification like this in decades. Thousands of people from hundreds of tribes across three, Canada, the United States, and Latin America.
Well, and it's not just Native people. There's a lot of other people. I mean, the woman who was charged, Rebecca Kimball, is an alderwoman. In Wisconsin. She wasn't just a regular person, but Dane County sent out their cops because they are also looking at a pipeline, Line 66, which is the biggest tar sands pipeline.
We're going to have to leave it there, but we're going to do part 2 and post online at democracynow.org. Winona LaDuke and Tara Houska of Honor the Earth. That does it for the show. Democracy Now! Is broadcasting live from Mandan, North Dakota, across from the Morton County Courthouse and Jail. I'll be appearing in court today at 1:30 p.m. to challenge a new riot charge against me stemming from Democracy Now!'s Labor Day coverage of the Dakota Access Pipeline guards pepper spraying and sicking dogs on Native Americans. For updates throughout the day, go to democracynow.org. Special thanks today to Laura Gottesdiener, Mike Burke, Dennis Moynihan, John Hamilton. I'm Amy Goodman. This is Democracy Now! Thanks so much for joining us.